This is Career Lab Wednesday. We are here every Wednesday, noon to 1 p.m. Central. Many of you have joined in before, but I want to give all newcomers an update on how this works. We love it when you jump in on the Zoom link and we can work with you directly. Love it when you come on camera when possible. But if you're not able to, we invite you to ask questions through the comments section that is streaming on LinkedIn Live. And as we're having people gather here today, first of all, I want to introduce Dr. Gordon Medlock, an expert career coach. Many of you have had the benefit of working with him before. And Dr. Medlock, we started talking a little bit before this session about last week, and we're talking about transferable skills. And one of the things we got into was how social and emotional intelligence is a skill that is transferable, and how important that is in career. And I think you've shared before that unless you're working on an assembly line, developing your social and emotional intelligence will have the biggest impact in your career. And one of the things that came up was, as people were checking in last week, was that we started to recognize that not everybody even really knows what they want. We had some people sharing about having gone through several career transitions and not really landing on something that they were satisfied with. Welcome. Is that Susan Bertram?
Yes.
Welcome. Hey, good to have you here.
Good to have you here, Susan. Welcome.
So we're just getting rolling here, and I was sharing about how kind of why we got into our topic this week of what are you interested in? What do you like? That was coming out of last week because we were finding that a lot of people hadn't really thought about that and what really matters to them, because part of how we see your career development and you doing really well and enjoying yourself is that your career is a vessel for you to help you become who you could become. So there's skills that you have, there's gifts that you have to develop. And we want your job to be a place where that's facilitating that and helping you get to know yourself. And we're helping you get to know interests that you may have never even thought you had. So Dr. Medlock, as we're having folks join in, I'd just love to introduce you again. Dr. Gordon Medlock is years of experience with helping people develop meaning and purpose in their careers. It's so good to have you with us today, Dr. Medlock. What can you share with us about this?
Sure. Well, I'd like to say a couple things about it. Welcome to joining everybody. So good to see your faces come on board. There's an interesting book that I've found very helpful in supporting people in their career transition. It's by Cal Newport. It's a book called "What Are You So Good At That They Can't Afford to Fire You? They Can't Afford to Let You Go." In other words, you want to find out what your gifts are and what your skills are, such that you've got a skill set that people at whatever company you're working for or organization are going to say, this is what we need this guy for or woman for, and we don't want to lose them. So you've got to really look at what your skills are and what it is you're really wanting to get good at. And to get good at something, you have to be interested in it. You've got to be really bringing all of yourself to it, wanting to develop your skills, wanting to explore it, wanting to understand it better. You may not know ahead of time, you might not have a clear sense of what my gifts are and exactly what I want to do. But as you get into the workplace, you begin to discover what really interests you and what you're getting good at and the skills you're building. To think of yourself as building a skill set that is of value to yourself and to the places where you work is your best career security. So I want people to be thinking along those lines. As Cal Newport says, if you're doing what interests you and you're getting better and really being excellent at it, your passion will be there as well. In other words, it's not necessarily that you've got to have this clear passion and then have all that happen. Sometimes as you get good at something and as you get skilled at it and as you make a difference, that passion is kindled as well. So just a little bit of a reframe for sometimes for people who are thinking they've got to follow their bliss, and maybe their bliss doesn't have anything to do with what the market is actually wants to pay people for. So you got to be careful in that category. So just be interested in people's thoughts about that. And if that's helpful for today's topic of looking at what really interests you, what is it you really want to get that engaged with, that you want to really get good at, so that it'll give you that kind of focus for your career.
Sweet. Dr. Medlock, thank you so much. And want to welcome, I can't see your name. It just says iPhone, but thank you for coming on. And if you would like to check in, we'd love to hear from you. I know I ask you to unmute right as you're driving, but good to see you. Hey, Tyrone.
Yeah.
Welcome. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Good. Yeah, I have a quick question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like I'm applying for positions today. I applied for like 2-3 positions, like IT support positions. And it's a position I did interview for. I believe I told you a while back.
Sure.
Yeah, it was back in January, the 16th of this year. And I believe I did express to you guys that the hiring manager or the recruiter, he did lay out like the job functions, the duties, and even the salary to me. I mean, he just put it all on the table. And he said, hey, this is how much you're going to be making. I'm like, oh, wow. Is this, does this mean?
So that was several months ago.
Well, it was back in January, I say like 3-4 months ago.
Okay.
But see, I work for the city of Kansas City, and that's how I got on this. That's how I got the security guard position, because I waited like nearly a year to even have an interview, and this is with the same, but it's like different department. It's still the city, but it's a entirely different department.
So Tyrone, so what's your question?
Should I call him today? I know it's been a while, but when I did call one day, it probably was like a month ago, and he had told, well, I just asked how was the hiring process going, and he did say, well, it has been a while back, like you said, but he did.
If it's gone that far, it's fine for you every 10 days or so to check in with somebody. Just keep reminding them, because they're probably not thinking about you. They're probably thinking about something else they're working on, and you keep reminding them you're interested. Then they get around to, well, this, Tyrone must really be interested. He's called me about 5 or 6 times. Let's get him in here. Let's talk to him and see what's. So it's fine, and there is that line of you don't want to be doing it too often, but certainly it's been a long time since you last had that conversation. So it's quite possible. And when you're doing that, say something about the job that you maybe have been reading about, or a skill you've been developing that's made you think about it. Thought you'd call him because you've been working on this particular IT skill that you want to start using more in your career, and want to know how are things going with that job opening. So just don't just call to say, tell me about it, but also have something to share about your interest and what you can bring to the table. So
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Well, good luck with that. Let us know how that goes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, and George.
Hey, hello.
This is Gerard.
Gerard, good to see you.
I have to tell you thank you. If you read my note, I got a job offer.
Oh,
wow.
A very good job offer. And a lot of it was based upon your principles, and some of it was based upon what the doctor was just saying. I realized a long time ago, I love to be helpful. I love to protect people. I love to be in have the ability to do something for people that need help and need assistance. That's why I've been in law enforcement and security all this time. And based upon principles that you've been talking about, what the doctor talked about earlier, and also some common sense principles, don't burn your bridges behind you. Be professional at all times, even if your employer is not. I got a job offer.
Mhm.
That's great to hear.
That's
So
good.
tell us about the offer. What did you get?
I've been offered to take over security for a contract company at an Amazon site,
Wow.
Oh, wow.
and I'll probably have to go write all the SOPs for the site, see what the Amazon wants. I'll be of course a contractor, but it'll be a salaried position,
Mhm.
and I'll probably have to go in there and reinvent the wheel. But it's a promise that if I do, I'm not gonna say when I do well there, it will expand to other sites.
Cool. Congratulations. Good move. And how did you
Thank you.
land the job? Share a little bit about what did you do that got you.
Well, what happened was I was working for a security company that actually wasn't fulfilling my needs, and the manager and I, though we got along, there was some issues that really put us estranged from each other. But before I left that company, I made sure I left in good state,
Yeah.
and she had me actually go to Minnesota to do security during the George Floyd riots up there.
Mm-hmm.
So I went there and I handled the detail. I did all the payroll, issued uniforms, checked
Oh, wow.
post, all those things that you do in a security as a security manager. So she remembered that. So even though I've been away from her for about a year and a half now, when this opportunity came up, she just said it just read me. So she called me immediately and said, "Would I please put in for the job?" They wanted me, and the interview process was almost just like very informal. She had praised me highly to the manager there, and the manager just said, "I know all about you. You're from West Point. Used to play rugby up there." We ended up talking more about his rugby experiences at West Point
There you go.
than really about the job. Because
That's
she said he said, Gerard, you already sold. I already want you.
So tell me, Gerard, was she a recruiter or was she what was her role?
I'm sorry. She's the director of the local security company.
Okay, so that's how she knew you through that.
That's
Okay.
how she knew me from me working with her. And during the year I was with her, I actually opened different sites with her,
Perfect.
did interviews, did training for the other officers, on and on, all the things I've been trained in to do for years.
Perfect.
And
So
she just remembered me for my good job performance.
that's what you want. You're creating your network as you contribute, and that's exactly the best possible situation, because you don't have to go through any of the formalities, and then you can just talk about what you guys have in common, and you're going to enjoy working together. So congratulations. That's a great story.
And as you said, Doctor, it was emphasizing I was doing what I love to do. I love to be out there, protector, to be assisting people. That's what I've done all my life ever since I graduated from the academy. And I'm very altruistic, I guess is the proper term. And that's me. I like it.
Well, they're lucky to have you, as nearly as I can tell. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good work. Good work.
So good to hear, Gerard.
Yeah.
Thank you for checking in on that. That's great.
And
Thank
another
you.
thing, just to let people know, getting the job is, of course, what we focus on a lot here, but actually that first 3 months on the job are really important. So that's where you're making your first impressions, you're building the relationships, you're asking the right questions. So that's the time to really be vigilant about, getting into relationship with people and finding out what's needed and really, becoming part of the team. So if you need any support on that over the course of this time, feel free to always drop in to our call, and we'll be happy to, share it. If you got a situation where you're up against something with somebody and you want some coaching on it, we'd be happy to provide it. Okay.
Definitely. Appreciate you gentlemen. Great deal.
Okay. Well, thank you. Good luck to you on that. That's great to hear.
Thank you.
Okay.
Awesome. Gerard, thank you again. And I want to underline a few things about the process, what we've been learning. I mean, we've known this in working with people and developing in any area of life, But Dr. Medlock and I have been running a career group for some time now. We transitioned it to having this on LinkedIn Live about 6 months ago. And one of the coolest things that we're seeing is that as people do sometimes they'll do one-to-one coaching, but there's also a really wonderful thing of this group environment, being able to come in, kind of be with people who are up against career challenges as well. Whether you're just starting off in your career, whether you're halfway through or whatever, at any point, but just to get the vicarious learning, what we call in our courses co-voyaging, co-voyaging with other people in the journey of life, and how beneficial that is. And so wanted to underline that, Gerard, as you've been joining in, being able to see, okay, wait, it's actually important for me to be aware of what my gifts are. It's important for me to know what interests me and to share that with other people. Some of these things that because we don't really see ourselves in the world, we might forget to do. We might not have developed that skill. So just getting that feedback, Gerard, that now you're able to lead with that, you're able to talk about yourself that way, you're getting more comfortable talking about yourself. And it's actually a service for people. I'm somebody who grew up Mennonite conservative Christian, and we're just so not supposed to brag, and so me talking about any of my gifts, just I would avoid it. But now actually learning, like, no, this is a good thing to do. It's important for me to know what I care about, what I'm good at, so I can communicate that to other people. And that's oftentimes what we work with people is in the resume process, in the interview process, in the networking process, is getting a more sense of myself and what I'm good at, what my gifts are, and what I want to develop, and being able to communicate that to people. So wanted to underline that for everybody. And to reset the room, this is Career Lab Wednesday. We're here every Wednesday, noon to 1 p.m. Central. And we always have topics, but we really want to support you in whatever your career goals are. So we invite any questions you have, anything that you're working on, whether you're in the interview process or you're in a company looking to develop yourself there. So with that, I'm opening the floor for more questions. A reminder, anybody who's viewing in on LinkedIn Live and you can't join in on the Zoom link here, you can type your questions in the comment section, and Jane Coletto will get those over to us. So any questions? What can we support you with today?
Yeah. It's kind of
Tyrone?
it's kind of good. I don't know if anyone else had any question, but I'm also enrolled in a cybersecurity course, and I love it because last night I've been involved in the class for, like I said, about 3, 4, 5 months now. But last night was the first night that we kind of went over questions in regards to the upcoming test. And they were just like boom, 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 boom. And I just, I communicated and say, hey, my name's Tyrone. I've been on here for a while, and I really like the way you guys work together in solving the answers together. But what was really good was I was able to answer one question that the others didn't have the answer for. And they say, hey, Tyrone, how did you know? I said, well, I did have some networking experience. I got my networking certificate at a school. And it feels good when they can ask you questions and you just introduce yourself.
Cool. Nice going, Tyrone.
Yeah, it made me feel good. And they're like, well, because I said I took the test 3 times and failed. They was like, oh, well, what's your opinion about what we're doing? How was how was each question? It was like they were gravitating towards my experience, and it felt real good. It really, I just wanted to add that because you never know how valuable your presence is.
Totally.
Very nice.
You
And you're
never,
talking about an important
you
thing,
never
Tyrone,
know
also.
unless you apply yourself and you step out. Sometimes you just have to step out.
You're talking about the importance of being a net giver too. And that's something we put a lot of emphasis on in our philosophy here of how to work in your career and how to advance your career. So you're contributing by the questions you're asking, the way you're engaging people and being personally present. You're contributing to that group in a positive way, as you are here. So appreciate
Right.
that.
Right.
And I would love to share a story with a client who recently, because you're mentioning cybersecurity now, there's a whole range of things there. But one of the things that we've been seeing is what used to just be engineer positions, tech positions, that social and emotional intelligence skills didn't matter as much, but more and more and more, they're mattering a whole lot because of all the crossover with customers, et cetera. And so, and one guy I'm working with, he shared, so as I've been learning this social and emotional intelligence stuff, I realized, he's a physicist. He's like, I realized that the bar at our speaking events is really low. And it didn't take me a whole lot to just be a little more alive and like kind of turn the sides of my mouth up to have everybody paying attention to me, learning more, getting more from the conference, from me sharing, and then have people taking pictures of me, and then me getting on the front of a magazine for this and this thing. And he was like, it's just amazing because as a speaker here, the bar was so low. And so for in a lot of places, learning some of these, we call them soft skills, social and emotional intelligence skills, makes a huge difference. And so I like what you're sharing, Tyrone, just about that, just to be able to ask a meaningful question. A lot of other people probably have that question, but weren't willing to take the risk to stick out a little bit. So I wanted to share that and also invite everybody who hasn't attended yet to our More Life training, where we go deep into these skills, into our social and emotional intelligence skills, all online. We've got people from around the world joining now, and it's a fantastic spot to not just learn about, but to actually get the practice experience, kind of like when you work with Dr. Medlock and I here on a challenge that you're having. You get that interaction with coaches and with a team on the training. So I wanted to throw that out here as well.
Right.
George, if you don't mind pivoting on that, you just remind me of something. Two things you told me that really were helpful. When I came to you and Dr. Matlock, and I expressed the time that people were telling me from my interviews I was too verbose.
Yes.
You remember that? And you
Yep.
told me two things. Be concise in my answers, which I'm trying to be. I'm trying to improve on that as we speak.
Yeah.
Also, you reminded me that when you're interviewing, they're interviewing you. You're interviewing them also.
Right.
So you're seeing what they bring to you as well as what you bring to them. And that mindset was tremendous in kind of like making me have more successful interviews.
Awesome.
Being concise, I'm gonna shut up.
Gerard, you're great. No, thank you for bringing that in. Because that's the flip side of it. Sometimes, now you're a verbose guy, and so emotional intelligence doesn't always mean just talking more. Sometimes it means not talking and getting in sync with somebody, as opposed to just kind of talking on the surface. So it goes both ways. And I'm so glad you said that, Gerard, because there's not a silver bullet here. There's not a one size fits all. Everybody is their own person with their own gifts, and developing our social and emotional intelligence just helps me develop who I am. and the areas where I have skill gaps in communicating with people, it helps me be aware of that and say, okay, cool, I'm going to try out something else that might be a little uncomfortable, but I like the results that it gets. So
Amen.
beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Gerard.
Well, I'm George Donald. I'm also noticing we're getting some other social and emotional intelligence related questions. There's one here about a person who has an interview coming up to meet the team. And that particular situation is a particularly important kind of interview. So I'd like to speak.
Oh,
about
yeah.
it. So this is a thing that happens when you've already passed the screening. You're already in the point where you're now at the point where they want to meet the team, because what are they evaluating at that point? They've decided you probably have the skill set. Now the question is, how are you going to get along with people? How are you going to be part of this team? Remember, when you're applying for a job, you may be thinking, I got to get this job, but actually you're going to be part of an organization and a team that you may be working with for the next 3, 4, 5 years. So who you are, how you are with them, how the feel of that presence and connection, kind of what Tyrone was talking about earlier, of how important presence is, but just your way of being with them is going to be important. So the key focus there is looking at the relationship that you're building with each person in the room as you're in the interview meeting the team. And you want to be curious about them. This is not the time to be worrying about, do I have, and the question of things came up, should I bring things besides my resume, references? All of that is not important here at this point. What you want to have is the ability to be curious with them about how are they experiencing the team? How are things going? This is a sales position. What are you seeing to be the big challenges in your organization right now? And taking an interest in them, and then sharing your experience as it comes up naturally in a way that would show that you have a skill that's going to be a contribution, but you're leading with your curiosity and your contribution to them as a fellow team member. And I see you on the screen, Susan. So do you want to speak up to that? Sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I think that's really great advice. Curiosity has recently been my big theme, is just to be curious. But when I finished the other interview, the guy also made reference to recommendations and like referrals. And so I didn't know whether I should, I'm thinking that I should at least have that as backup in case he asks about it, or, ask for something more.
Sure. So do you have some references in mind of people that you would recommend, or a list of people you could give him?
Well, I need to pull that together. I'd have to make sure that they're aware that I was giving their name out.
So that's probably worth doing some initial. When's your interview?
Friday evening.
Friday, okay. So you could just check in and ask, can I use you as a reference? And I'm doing some interviewing right now and whatever. And even advise them a little bit about sort of reminding them of some of your skill sets that they might want to reference if asked, and things like that. So you're kind of prompting and sort of coaching them on how to represent you to another person.
Okay.
That's useful to do as it's not the sort of thing that you want to have people calling on them unless the manager or the hiring manager is very serious about hiring you. It's not like you don't want to have to overburden these people with a bunch of people calling them about you, except when it's really at the point where they're really seriously considering you. So you can say that as well. But but don't worry about having it there on the spot. You can say, I'll get but I would do some homework to see maybe 2 or 3 people that know your work well, so that you do feel comfortable answering that question and telling me, yes, of course, I have some people I'd be happy to.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Good luck with that. Okay.
Thank you.
That's great. Susan, good luck with that. And that's a fantastic question. I'm so glad you were able to ask.
Thank you, George.
So,
okay. We're getting lots of people coming in. I'm getting some private messages and some out here. So Samantha, are you available? I see that you're on.
Yeah, I could turn my camera and you're just going to see me sitting sideways with another computer, because to be very honest, I'm working as well. You all understand.
Okay, cool.
It's the truth. So I was very fortunate to discover you guys last week, and George was very kind and very patient. The position I'm in is I don't mean older, but I'm an older individual in my 40s. I've worked in different places, but I was kind of the person we mentioned doesn't know their career and had lots of jobs that would eventually be me. And I'm trying to sort of figure out what to do, but in the whole interviewing thing, I don't know if I want to say stifled, but nervous, and my anxiety, which is diagnosed and like trying to be under control, comes out and wants to do the drive because I've had problems. So as I mentioned to George before I came in, I had a past where I wasn't officially let go. I left because I didn't want to get fired, but I would have been fired if, by an employer that I was with for 10 years. Now, looking back, I understand what happened. I was emotionally immature. Like someone else said, my dad used to joke that I was vaccinated with the Victrola. For those of you who are young and don't know what the Victrola is, it's a musical instrument. I've gotten a lot better. I'm in my 40s now. I'm able to sit quietly, but it took me a while to get there. So I want to say apprehensive. My therapist doesn't like when I use that word because it's like very in the middle. But interviewing makes me nervous. I mean, basically, I'm doing what I'm doing now, which is working at, ironically, executive search firm because it's my stepmom's firm. So I'm able to do like administrative stuff and sort of stay out of trouble. So I have a job, but it's not passion. It's not what I want to do, but it's something to do because, I'm an adult. I need a job. I need something to do. But interviewing, has always been sort of horrifying for me. Granted, I know I have to get to that stage, but because it's so scary, I keep shooting myself in the foot like, oh, I don't have the right resume. I don't have this. I'm not going to reply because.
So Samantha,
failure.
let me respond to that. Okay. So I think when the anxiety gets going, when you feel like you're on the spot and you have to perform, and when it's all about that, all of us would get anxious. So the key thing about interviews is it's not about you being on the platform having to perform. It's about you taking an interest in who you're interviewing with and what the job is and learning more about them and being curious about what they need and finding ways that you might be able to contribute. So it's not so much about you in a sense. It ultimately comes down to that, but it's more about
I'm looking at you like I've been on the other side, like it's totally,
what's
like,
that?
I've prepped clients for interviews, which is funny. So like, and I've been in the prep, so like, it's all about, like selling yourself. I don't know how to sell myself. I just want to sit there and close up in a shell and pretend you're not talking to me.
But notice first of all, it's perfect that you've got the job you do because you're actually coaching people to do what you're trying to learn how to do. So that'll be helpful. But it's not about selling yourself. That's what I'm trying to say. Don't focus on selling yourself because people ultimately, it's all about, a dog and pony show, and they're not interested in that. They really want to get, you as a human being, believe it or not. And it's an opportunity for you to take an interest in them and looking at more what questions you have for them and you being curious about what they need. So it takes it off of not so much what you're so good at or not good at, but more who you are as a person, how you're learning and growing, what you're involved in, and more importantly, how this all relates to what their needs are and how you think you can be helpful. So if you get it off of the focus on selling yourself and start focusing on getting in relationship with the person you're talking to and finding out about them and their company and why they're needing somebody, it's going to be less anxious. Does that make sense? You'll be less anxious because you're not.
I completely understand, and I read, the books. It's just more interviewing falls in the same horror of speed dating, which thank God I don't have to do anymore because I'm happily partnered. But like, it's the same thing of you were judging me and having years of judgment. You judge me, and I become a child again because the adult doesn't really know how to function anymore.
Good. So you say those things. You've obviously got a lot of self-awareness, which is a great help. The danger of insight. We talk about this a lot at Right.
We have way too much insight. We are aware of this. Yes.
The danger of insight, believe me, I understand this too. I'm an analyzer, so I can like fall in love with my insights. The problem with insights is unless there's a specific action you're taking based on it, it becomes a useless enterprise because it doesn't make any difference. So what you can get trapped in telling the story of your own sort of whatever, your symptoms, your anxiety. You can spend,
Met me.
you could write essays on anxiety, right? So, but that's not going to be helpful. So so part of it is learning to shift your narrative, learning to talk about yourself in a different way, focusing on what you're orienting toward and the kinds of contributions you make, as opposed to all those things that you've so used to talking about how you've had all these issues that kept you from doing X, Y, or Z, because that's not going to work, So it's really about learning how to create your narrative. And you're actually, I understand you're going to be doing our More Life training. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've signed up for everything.
Cool. Well, we focus
I'm all
on,
about just, I'll dive it all in and learn everything.
yeah, that's great. Well, we focus on how to create the positive narrative of what you're moving toward and not getting stuck in your old quote story of who you've been. So that's going to be very helpful for you longer term. So I'm delighted to hear you're doing that.
And then just one more question, because I heard you mention the book. Obviously, I know you wouldn't mention the book if you wouldn't mention if you didn't recommend it. But as someone who's trying to, as you said, rewrite my story, because at this point in time, I can tell you what I'm good at. And I can tell you what, not so much weaknesses, but areas that I am not as proficient in, but I can still do. But as a professional, I know, I can do this, but you may want to have someone else do this. But I'm really good at these things. Like that, I know how to say. I know you mentioned a book that I was Googling in the background. Is that something that could help me sort of?
Yes.
You can tell the words, my brain, is not working at the moment.
The author's name is Cal Newton. And
I already Googled the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm ADHD, so that I can do. I can listen and do that at the same time.
So you got that already.
Yeah.
Okay,
I just
good.
need to order it. Okay. Thank you so much. I'm going to go back to muting and listening.
Good luck to you. Okay. Thank you for contributing.
Much appreciated. And thank you guys so much for just doing this. This is an awesome thing to do. I wish I discovered ages ago.
Well, so good. Glad to
Thank
have
you,
you.
Samantha.
Okay, take care.
Oh, sweet. Well, that's really exciting. I'm looking forward to hearing more of Samantha's journey. And I wanted to bring in some of what you were talking about, Dr. Medlock, about the limiting beliefs and kind of rewriting those. Now, I did share last week something that happened that was an extreme example of this for me. And I think it'll be worth sharing again. Literally last Wednesday, I was out swimming in Lake Michigan, which is really cold.
Oh,
So, I like to do
ask
it.
you about that, George. Now, what are you doing swimming in Lake Michigan in the middle of April? What is going on?
Well, yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Lake Michigan from February till the end of April is anywhere from 31.8 degrees, so below freezing, to low 40s. It's just got up to low 40s now. But so I'm doing it because it feels, believe it or not, it feels really good. After the first time I went, I thought I was going to die. But I also felt incredibly alive afterwards. And now I'm addicted to it. It feels so good. It's the quickest way to a deep meditation I've ever had. 2 hours of Kundalini yoga. I can get into that space of meditation in about 10 minutes. So that's that part of it. But anyway, all this to say, I'm going into the lake. Buddy, who sometimes is on here, Lucky Gorman, who's 82 years old, by the way, and is going into the lake. Okay. So we go in and we get out and we're greeted by the fire department, a Coast Guard helicopter, a giant boat, 5 fire engines, police officers, all this stuff. And as I'm coming out, at this point, I'm high from being in the cold. It's, it puts you in an altered state, and I'm just like, and I'm walking out, and my immediate response to all of this is, oh no, they're gonna take this away from me. Oh no, like this, they're gonna have me not do this anymore. How am I gonna keep doing this? This is, oh no, it's all coming to an end. I was really upset. and I'm going and talking to all these people, the cops and etc. And I'm just trying to like not get a ticket. You know, I mean, I'm just trying to get out of there really. But inside, I'm like, I'm starting to grieve already at like, oh no, I've lost this thing. So then I go into my coaching supervision. So I'm getting coached. I'm sharing about this. And Dr. Mike Swell says, so notice how you perceive everything. Did it occur to you that a bunch of people showed up to help you? No, it didn't. And so notice that your beliefs seem to be something like, oh, authority is going to thwart my will and take away my joy. And I was like, yeah, it's true. So I was sitting with that and I started feeling really sad because I realized, man, the one guy who was talking to me, the one officer, he actually seemed to be interested, and I could have like developed more of a relationship with him, and I didn't. But so what I did then was I got on the phone, I started calling around through the city of Chicago. So notice my beliefs about the world, about authority, about just stuff. And if that's the mindset that I stayed in, I probably wouldn't be going into the lake anymore, or I would be going in areas where like people couldn't see me from high rises, which then might actually be dangerous because one spot I'm going to, it's not dangerous, it's no riptide. But instead of staying with that, I said, okay, let me try something else, because my belief system was pointed out to me. So I started calling around the city. And I have some really lovely conversations with people. I'm learning more about the laws and stuff. And in the end, an officer puts me in touch with the Marine unit. And I'm talking to them and say, here's what we want you to do, is give us a phone call before you go into the water. We're going to train a camera on you. We have cameras along the lake, and we're going to let the other authorities know that there's a cold water swimmer in there. And then when you're done, call us back, and then we'll know we can take the camera off. So now I've been doing that. I've been calling them. It's lovely. And it's absolutely, and inside that, the belief that I don't matter, when they were like, oh, we'll put a camera on you. It's like, oh no, you don't have to do that. No, please. Like, don't, so I'm trying to pull, it's like, and then I'm, but I'm not actually saying that. I'm just like, shut up, George, shut up. Just let him help you. Shut up. Don't say anything. I'm like you, Gerard, at this point. I'm like, just, this is great. This is working. So yes. So as we're going through our day and interacting, to be increasingly aware of the beliefs I have about myself that are limiting the possibilities, limiting how I might ask for help, and then to try other things. This is a key part of what we do. We go deep into it on that More Life training that you've heard us mention several times, where we really grapple with our beliefs and how to be more effective in our interactions.
Cool. Thank you for sharing that, George Donald. It's a great story.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It actually tempts me to want to go into cold water swimming. So I just want you to know.
Cool. Go be safe and don't rush it. But yeah, I encourage it. And for everybody who's in the Midwest and Chicago, the showers are a great way to start. They're freaking cold. Yeah, Gerard.
Well, let's hear. I know, Tiffany, you're on the call today too. So as one of our students at Bright Graduate University, I'm always curious to hear how they're doing career-wise. So you want to share a little bit about your own growth and learning and what you're up to these days?
Tiffany.
There you
There
are.
I am. Okay, it was just my camera.
There you go.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I was eating lunch, but what am I doing? Okay. Well, what George Donald just said a while ago, I say, was really hit me as well about the limiting beliefs, even with work. And also my ideals about authority as well, and about and I can relate as well as far as, thinking that, okay, I'm going to be in trouble and grieving something. And so that kind of, I was pulling that into for myself, current situation that I'm experiencing as well. and trying to see how I can shift those beliefs
Mhm.
to more empowering ones, being more open and assuming goodwill, and having that growth mindset that we've been talking about, as well as and receiving feedback. And so that was kind of a different perspective too, when you were saying, have you considered that this person is trying to help you? And something that's I usually don't consider when people gives me feedback so much historically. So I can see how that can influence
Good.
attitudes and behaviors.
Well, remind me also, is one of your career interests working on becoming a coach? Is that part of what you're working towards?
Yes, it is.
So you're going to be working with people on helping them shift their limiting beliefs all the time, right?
Yes, I see
Yeah.
that. It's a big thing.
So this is why it's important for you to do your own work, right? That's one of the philosophies of us at Wright.
Of course.
As coaches, and both George Donald and I are coaches as well, is that part of it is if we do our own work, we're then much more able to help others because we're in touch with what the process is about and how to do that. So tell us a little bit about how are you evolving as a coach? What's your career direction at this point, and how can we support you?
Oh, okay. Wow. Yes. Well, I just finished the coaching quarter at
Okay.
WGU. So
Good.
I had a number of coaching people, and I see what you were saying too. Doing your own work as well as helping others, and that connection, and that's something that I'm continuing to develop as well. Considering that like because what we call unfinished business, things still have to work on for myself that comes up, and be more aware of that.
You don't have to have it all solved before you can coach.
Sure.
You'll learn it as you go. Okay, so
All right, thank you for that permission. Okay, sure. Yes, I realize. Yes, that's a journey too. It's a process, and being open to that and aware as we go along. And it seems like the more we go, the more find more things. But that's part of the learning and education, lifelong learning.
So how can we be of help to you as someone who wants to develop as a coach? What would you like from the Career Lab experiences for you?
Oh, wow. Not quite sure this time. I really do enjoy these Wednesdays too. I get a lot out of them. So just seeing how, the way the interaction, I pick up a lot out of that. And like I said, apply it to myself as well. So that gives me some ideas to just see examples of how people approach and questions are being asked and the perspective that's being taken. And I noticed that a lot of times I kind of assimilate some of those things in my own interactions. And in my job too, I work with students. I'm considered a success coach for academics for some college students too. And so I've been bringing a lot of those skills as well.
So you do coaching in your current job then, is that right?
Yes, I did.
And what is can you just remind me what your current job is?
I work at a students affairs department at a 4-year university, and supporting students as they make it through college, trying to keep them to graduation and solve whatever problems they may have and obstacles that might be interfering with them being successful, not only as a student, but we kind of do holistic as well, not just academics, but we, they have a personal problem that might be interfering with them doing well in college, or so connecting them with resources or problem solving with them, helping them to see some obstacles and ways that they can approach different things so they can get better results to lead to academic results mostly.
That is lovely to hear, and it sounds like you're doing a good job. I love the way you're talking about it, and I'm glad to hear you're applying your degree program immediately in your current work and having an impact there. So,
yes, soaking it all in.
Good. Well, thank you for doing that.
Thank you for that invitation and bringing me in.
Okay, okay. Pleasure as always.
Thank you.
And just let us know if there's any questions or things you specifically want to, work on in this group as part of your own development. That's part of what we're here for. So
I will, and I have got a lot too. And I've been applying with my work situation as well.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to be wrapping up here soon, but I think we can get in a question that's coming in from LinkedIn. Before we do that, quick room reset. This is Career Lab Wednesday. We're here every Wednesday from noon until 1 p.m. Central. And we have a topic usually every week, but our main focus, our main purpose here is to answer your questions, any concerns, anything that you're working on in your career. We invite those, however small, however big, for you to get some coaching here on the challenges that you have in your career. There's often little, I find that comes up often, that people just have a question that for whatever reason they think they should know or something. I don't know that that's ever actually the case. I think anytime somebody's asking a question, many people are grateful to have somebody asking that question. So whether you are joining in on this Zoom line directly or typing your questions into the comment section in LinkedIn, grateful for your engagement. And that word engagement is actually what I want to talk with one of the questions that we had coming in a private message. For somebody who had a interview canceled and is really discouraged, is looking at different opportunities coming up and was excited about the position and doesn't know why the interview was canceled. Could have just been, something scheduling for that company, or could be that they were like, oh, you know what? We already went with another candidate. We don't know.
Yeah.
But when in the job hunt process, this is Dr. Medlock, this is something we haven't talked about in a while, but when you're in that position, it's its own job. We say the job of getting a job. And, when there's a canceled interview or something, it's totally discouraging, and one of the things we want to, what I want to remind people of is that we've referred to before, is that in what really helps is continued engagement. That's whether I am getting interviews or not getting interviews, whether I've even gotten a job offer or not. Oftentimes it really is a good idea to put out another application or set up the next interview or meeting, because we want to, there's usually not a one size fits all silver bullet, something that's just going to make, land perfectly. And so always be engaging in networking, in conversations, and in interviewing. If you are in the job hunt and something it fell through, get back out there and get another one set up. Stay in touch with that company. Keep going. You can learn again more about this at the More Life training, but there's Dr. Judith Wright's research on what really creates a satisfying life, what really creates the most nourishing existence that we can have is, she calls it the evolating model. Phase 1 is yearning. That has kind of is in the feeling realm. We're not often in touch with our yearnings up front. Sometimes it takes us a little bit of practice to get in touch with our deeper yearnings. So we often look at just engaging, making contact with people, joining in on this call. So a lot of people do that because it's like, oh, cool, that's the first step. I'm just getting that activity going. And then the next phase is revelating or revealing. So that's kind of when we're in the cognitive state and the insights and realizing, oh, these are some of the ways I function. That's a helpful point, but we don't want to just stop there. Then we go to liberating. That's where we're actually doing something differently, like what I was sharing about, like calling authority figures in Chicago to like work out what I was working on. And then we get into rematrixing and dedicating. I don't want to get into that anymore. Most of what we focus on here in Career Lab is yearning and engaging. And so I just want to leave you with that today, as we're going into our, what is this, hump day? So halfway through the week, as we're going into the rest of our week, I want to leave everybody with that. So thank you for the vulnerability of that question. It was a private message. So I know when you get a rejection like that, it really hurts. But keep going, keep engaging, notice the limiting beliefs around, oh, I should just give up, I should just do something easier. Do both. Go for the position that's easier, that maybe you can get, maybe get that to have yourself going. But also keep going for the more challenging position as well. Do both, get more data, get more engagement. That will help you flesh out what's really meaningful to you. So again, thank you everybody for joining in. Thank you for your questions. We will be back next week, noon to 1 p.m. Great to see you, Gerard. Thank you so much for jumping in and sharing your that success story with us. And Tyrone, you as well. Lovely to hear how you're networking. Samantha, thank you for sharing about your process. Looking forward to seeing you more. Tiffany as well. Tiffany, you are such a blessing in coaching. I've had you on some teams at the More Life training. So good to hear that you were moving forward with that. And Dr. Medlock, I know you dropped off for a second. We're just wrapping up, but Dr. Medlock, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us here. Thank you for bringing your expertise and sharing with everybody here. So
thank you, everybody. I lost my internet connection a little bit, so just apologies for that. But
gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll be seeing you at the Emotional Intelligence event and the More Life training. Take care.
You too.